Hello and welcome to our demonstration of Tenant Tech with the ILA forms. This is Scott Runkle from Tenant Technologies, and I'm just going to take you through a sort of informal walkthrough of the program and the different functionalities that we have. And I'm just going to start out by showing you the dashboard. When you first log in, you'll be at the dashboard. This is a place where you can look at and control a variety of different functions in the program. You can see we have quick links on the side. We can move someone in, we can move someone out, we can view a rent roll report, create a work order, add units, and work with our users. We have our quick stats on how many units we have, how many have been leased, how many are available. Here we can see whether we have documents that are waiting to be signed or documents that are out for signature. This is a feature that's coming out sometime in later January or February, but I will be able to show that to you today. Here we have our notification center, which is where we can see things that are going on that we've been notified about. So documents have been signed or a follow-up, it's time to contact somebody. And we can create reminders that will remind us when someone's moved out, moved in within certain time frames. We can see our current and upcoming vacancies, what's available from what building and what unit. And in our system, we have the word building, but it's also thought of just as a portfolio. If you manage single family homes, you can think of a building as just sort of a group of homes, or it could be a duplex or something like that. We can see our prorate calculator. We can do a prorate just to sort of show someone what their prorate's going to be for the first and second month, or if they have other charges, it's going to add that in. We can quickly calculate that. And we can modify our prorate formula however we need to. We can also check our current prospects that have come through in our traffic summary. So this is the dashboard, and then the program has several main sections. Residents, where we can go through our prospects, applicants, current residents, resident history, and manage our units. We have our forms and docs section, and that's sort of the heart of the system as far as documents. We can print for a single unit, or we can print for multiple units. We can set up favorite forms. We also have a maintenance module that's sort of an add-on, and we can view reports. Up here at the top, we can do things like fiddle with our account, our property settings, and tools. So now I'm going to move into the resident section. And before I get started there, I also want to show you kind of along the top. If you manage multiple properties, you'll see them here, and you can select from those. This is going to show us our current building and unit and resident that are selected. And over here, we have some quick links. We can put entries in the manager's log, we can create a guest card, and we can see if we have any unread messages in the messaging system. So here we are in the residents section, and we can go through a whole life cycle of residents from prospects all the way through resident history. So if you're going to use the prospect system, you can create a new prospect in here. Just create a new prospect. You can say that they contacted you by phone. Maybe they heard of it through Craigslist. And we just fill out whatever information we want. We can put in what they want and what they need as far as maybe they want a garage. We can show what units are available, and we can make notes on what units we showed them as far as tours. We can note the results. We can enter things in our history and create a new prospect that way. So I just created John Smith, and then we can do things like edit him. We can also send an application through our online application system, and I can show you that in a couple of minutes. And then we have our applicants, and there's a few different ways to put applicants into the system. One is by creating a new applicant. Just click this button and you can put an applicant in if you just want to screen somebody quickly. Or they can come in through our online rental application system, or they can be converted from a prospect. So you can start out with a prospect and convert them into an applicant. And once we have an applicant in the system, we can actually do a screening of that applicant. Let's say that we're set up with the CIC screening, which is the same that's offered through the ILA website. We can click send to screening, and then I can put in the rent quoted. I can put in my username. Let me grab that real quick. This is my username with CIC. And then I can type in my password. And I can do send to screening. Now, assuming I type my password right, which I think I did, then in about 15 to 20 seconds, we're going to get our screening result back from CIC. So right now, this will be going out to the credit reporting service. It would also be pulling data from the evictions database and the criminal database at CIC, and we're going to see a full report on our screen. And what we're going to see is actually sort of a window into the CIC website, so it's totally secure and nothing is going to be stored on your local system. So now the report's been prepared, and this is all happening live in real time. And this is the report you're going to see. This is just sort of an abbreviated version, kind of a fake one. And it's going to show you their credit information, any notices, anything about eviction, criminal, things like that. So here we have no evictions were found. And we can just review that report and make our decision. And then at this point, if we like the person, we think that they're going to be a good resident, we can say approved, and we can save that into the system as their status. So once I close that and I have an approved applicant in the system, then I can convert them into a resident. And then they're going to go into the resident section and they're going to be able to do forms. So I'm going to just go down here to move into a unit. And I'm going to say I'm going to move them into duplex A, which is a vacant unit. I can show only vacant units, or I can just show all the units I have available. So once I've selected that unit, I'm going to move them in as a resident. I could also move them in as an incoming resident, which is kind of like a future resident that's going to be moving in later. And here I have the ability to add other residents if they had a roommate or wife or whatever. Here we can put in minors, children. We can put in their vehicle information. We can put in their animals, their pets. And I'm not going to do any of that just for the sake of being quick about it, but that's a quick way to put in information. And then we have our form selection here. We're going to show on the left side our mandatory forms, and on our right, our optional forms. So I'm going to go ahead and add the pet agreement. And if I want to skip forms for now, I can just do that. But this is the whole move-in process that we're going to go through. And I click continue. It's going to say, do you want to confirm you're going to move Scott Runkle into that building and that unit? So I confirm. And now it's going to walk us through the process of doing the forms. So it's going to take us through all the forms that we selected, one at a time. So here we've got a screen showing the crime-free lease addendum. There's no fields on that form, so there's nothing to fill out. Then we've got the pet agreement. I can just put in the pet name. Let's say his name is Johnny, and he's a dog. And he's 25 pounds. And I'm going to do an additional security damage deposit of, let's say, $250. And it will be returned within 10 days after they prove they no longer keep the pet. So then I can go on to my next form, and this is going to be the residential lease and lead paint disclosure. And here I can fill out the agreement date with today's date. And I can say it's a single family dwelling. I'm just going to let some of the defaults just sort of flow through here. Authorized manager, the address. The lease term is going to begin, let's say, tomorrow, the 15th. And I'm going to do a 12-month. I can apply that, and it will calculate an end lease date. There's several different ways the system can calculate that depending on how you want to set that up. And we're going to say go ahead and renew on a month-to-month basis. And our monthly rent is going to be $600. And first payment is due on execution of this rental agreement. Our security deposit, we can also do $600. And then everything else, a lot of the stuff is just going to come in from our defaults. So here we're going to say electricity is going to be resident. They're going to pay for water, garbage, let's say they're going to pay for, and gas. So they're basically going to pay for everything. And then we can put in our emergency contact information and additional rules. We're going to say not applicable. So now I've filled out my rental agreement. Now I'm going to go next. It's going to save all that data. So everything that you save on the server, everything that you click is saved permanently on the server. So all the little fields and all the data for all the residents on every form is saved, and it's automatically going to fill in. So now we have our form up on the screen as our final PDF. So it's combined all the different forms together in one PDF, or I can select an individual form if I want to. So here's the residential rental agreement. There's the name. There's no additional occupants. So everything that we filled in is just going to populate onto the form. So it's got the dates here. It's got different things that we checked. It's got all the stuff here on the utilities. And that's the whole rental agreement form. Let's keep going. And here we've got the crime-free lease addendum. That was the one that didn't have any fields to fill in. And then our pet agreement with the information on our pet that we entered. So that's how quick and easy it is to go ahead and put forms, residents into the system. We started as an applicant, we moved them in. Now we've got their forms. If we want to sign these documents electronically, new feature that's coming out very soon, we can just click sign electronically. And then we're going to say that resident 1 is Scott Runkle, which was the resident in that unit. And I'm going to go ahead and confirm signers. And I can either sign them here now on this computer, or I can sign by sending an email. And if I click sign by sending an email, it's going to send an email out to all of the residents who need to sign. They're going to just be at home, wherever, and they can do it on their tablet or their computer. And they're going to just sign those documents. And then once they're all signed, it's going to come back to me as the owner, the landlord, the manager. And then I'm going to sign last, and all the documents, all the signatures will be put onto a single document, which everyone will have access to, and it'll be signed. I'm going to do it just to save time on this demo. I'm going to say sign now on this computer, and I'm going to say this person is basically in my office right now. He and I are both going to sign together. So it starts out telling me how the electronic signing process works. I'm going to go ahead and continue. And then this is the first resident. Unfortunately, the resident and the manager in this system both have the same name, which is my name. So it might seem a little confusing. So then I just sign my name here. It's got my email address. I click that I've read and agreed to the terms. And I say begin signing. And now what it's going to do is take me through each of the different documents that I need to sign. So one at a time. For legal reasons, we're going to present the documents, and the resident's going to see where they're going to sign on each one. So this is the residential lease. I can go through each page, and as the resident, I should be reading these. And remember, this is going to be signed electronically, so ideally, we're not actually going to be printing this out. So they're actually going to be reading it on the screen. You can be pointing things out to them, showing them what the different things mean. And then once we get to the page with the signature on it, it's going to show me your signature will appear here, and there's a field for the date. So then down at the bottom, I have apply my signature to this document. So it's showing me my signature. I can apply it to the document. So now my signature has appeared on the document with the date, and I can confirm that and continue to the next document. It's going to take me through the crime-free lease addendum. I'm going to apply my signature to that as well. There it is. I'm going to confirm. Pet agreement, my signature goes there. I'm going to apply my signature. And once again, I'm going to confirm. So now I've completed signing as the resident, and it's saying pass control of the computer to Scott Runkle, which in this case is the manager. And now, so the manager is going to sign. He's going to go through the same process that the resident did. So if we were doing this by remote email, it would all the signers would have signed, and then I, as the manager, would have gotten an email, and it would have said, everybody is signed, now it's your turn to sign as the manager. And then I would be doing this kind of at my leisure. I could do it right then, or I could do it later. So now as the manager, I've signed everything, and everyone else has signed as well. So I've got this screen, finalized document, everyone is signed. So then I can review the document, and I can make sure that all the signature locations on the documents have all been signed. So here's one that's been signed by both. And if there were other signers, they would have their signatures in the correct locations as well. So here's the other document, and there's the pet agreement. So they're all signed. So I'm going to confirm all signatures and finalize the document. And then one of the cool things about electronic signing is that every step along the way, everything that we did there was logged in our database and tracked with the exact date and time and the IP address and everything that happened. I'll show you in a second. So this is the final document. I can print it out. It's saved in our system. It's permanently stored in our document history, so we can access it at any time. And also an email has been generated to the resident with their giving them the ability to go and log in and view the document, download it, print it, save it, whatever they want to do with that PDF. And so if we scroll down to the very last page of this PDF, you'll see that it's added a special page here at the end that we call the electronic signature summary. And that's going to show us each action that was taken by each person. And again, it's confusing because I put the same name for both, but the PDFs were generated, signatures were captured, they were applied, and then it's got these little code numbers, and those link to a number that's actually on that document. And in a normal situation where you might be doing it by email, these would have different IP addresses. So I've got the same IP address for everyone, which is mine. And if this was done by email, each person might have a separate IP address. So this is just giving me a little bit of extra proof, something I can take to court if I need to prove that this was signed electronically. So that's the electronic signature process. Now I'm going to go back to residence, and I'm just going to show you under the resident history that, or not the resident history, but the document history, that these forms were signed and that we can access that. So let's take a look at our resident section. So here I have Duplex A with Scott Runkle, and I go over here. I've got a variety of different options, and I'll show you those in a minute. But just following along on the signing, we can go to Document History, and here we're going to see all the documents that were ever generated for this resident in this unit. And this is the only one right now, is this set of forms right here. But if I'd done documents yesterday, last month, last year, 5 years ago, those would all be listed in here by date. I'd be able to search by date, by keyword, as well as by type of document that was. So here I've got a signed document. It says signed document. It shows me all the forms that are in there, and I can just click view all, and it's going to pull up those forms. So at any time, I can go back into the system and see those signed documents, and I can print them out, view them, email them, etc. So that's how signing works. But even if you're not doing electronic signing, all of those forms would be stored here in your document history where you can access them. So let's go back to residence, and I'll show you some other things. Since we're still on sort of the forms part of things, I'll show you a couple things we can do with forms. So in the forms section, we can see all the forms that are available for electronic signing. These are all the ILA forms in the system at the moment. And if we want to just go in at any moment and do a form, and we're not doing that move in, we can just go in here and just click right on a form and fill out that form right away, not part of a move-in process, and print it out. We can search for things. We can make forms our favorite forms. I don't have any right now, but that's a real easy process. And then the forms can be put into groups, move-in mandatory, move-in optional. And another thing that we can do is put in custom forms. So if you have any of your own forms that you'd like to put into the system, you can give those to us, and we'll put them in as a custom form. So that's largely how the forms and docs works. So I'm going to go back to residence and just kind of show you a few things here. So let's go to this first resident here, Ellie Jones. So in this list, I'm seeing my buildings, which again, those can be portfolios, they can be actual buildings, small plexes, duplexes, triplexes, quads. If you have multifamily properties, the system handles those as well. We have companies with hundreds of multifamily properties in the system, and as well as companies with hundreds of single-family homes, down to people with one house that they manage. So the system really works for a variety of different people. So here we've got someone that I put in earlier. Her name's Ellie Jones, and there's various things I can do here. I'm just going to quickly show you the sort of master screen for editing resident data. So I can see I've got my resident Ellie Jones, all of her information. I can put in her renter's insurance information, her emergency contact. I can look at her lease summary, or I can go and actually edit that information directly on the form. I can see vehicles that we've put in for her. So if you want to keep track of vehicles, you can put them in here. I can see her cat or other animals if we want to keep track of that information. I can see her children as set up as minors, and the system will be set up, if you like, to remind you when a minor turns 18, and then you can add them to the lease. I can put in notes or upload attachments into the system. So if something happened with this resident, I put down, came to the office with a complaint about the neighbors. It really could be anything that you want to track. You can put in as a note. If you want to upload an attachment, that could be a document. It could be an image, a photo you've taken of damage, or really anything. You can upload that here and view it later. And we can also display our documents history. So this is kind of a master screen where we can see a variety of different things. So this is a good example of a unit where there have been documents going back a number of months that we can view in here, unlike that other unit I was on. So that's just kind of showing me everything I need to know about that resident. I can go back to residents, and here I can add a new resident if someone else moves into that unit. I can add an incoming resident. So this is a way, if someone's going to be moving out and you have a new resident that's all screened and ready to go, they're going to be moving in, but you need them both in the system at the same time to do documents and other things. You can put in the new resident as an incoming resident. We can manage our animals and vehicles. We can set our status if we want to put them on notice or note that they've been evicted. We can also put an available date for this unit, and that will cause it to show up under the dashboard as coming up in the future available. We can edit our rental agreement. We can go through our move out process. When we're ready to move someone out, it's very easy. We can set them to be moved out right now, or we can move them out on a future date, in which case it will remind us and have us move them out when we log in on that date. We can transfer residents from one unit to another with just a couple of clicks. Here's our document history that we showed before. And we can also set a little sort of note here. It's kind of like a flag saying works nights, not available during the day. So this is just like a reminder to yourself of something you want to know about that person. We can also go down and edit our unit information. So this is where we're editing information that's not really going to change very often. People will move in and out. That's not going to affect the fact that it's a 2-bedroom house. So I can edit the information. I can put it into a particular building portfolio. I can change the address. I can say it's a single family instead of multifamily. I can set the unit address to be building or custom. I can change all this information. I can set their different carbon monoxide alarms. We can save additional information in here. There's really a lot of stuff that we can do in the system. We can also set our unit inventory if you want to keep track of things that are in the unit, such as anything really, carpeting, drapes, washer and dryer, things in the kitchen, appliances. You can put in all different information about those. And then there's a report where you can go and see all that information. We can view our unit history. There's a variety of different features that we have. I won't show in great detail. We can go to our resident history. So once someone moves out, they're going to be a previous resident, and they're going to show up in our resident history. When they do, we can go in and see all the different forms and documents that were created for them. We can add notes and attachments for them, even though they've moved out. We can view their document history. So all those documents that were created and stored and they're visible in the document history are still available even after a resident has moved out. We can also do a resident reference if that's something you want to do, where we're going to add notes and information about whether that person paid on time, did they have notices and things like that, just for your future reference. So that is the resident section. One thing I said I would come back to is the online rental application. So I'm going to go to prospects, and I'm going to go to the one that I created today, John Smith, and I'm going to show you how the online rental application works. I'm going to click send email application. I can either have that come from me as a person or from the name of this particular property with the email from there. It's going to go to the prospect email, which is mine. I can send a message if I want, such as please fill this out today, or whatever. You can leave that blank. And I can copy myself so it'll come to my email if I want to. When I click continue, this is going to send an email to that applicant at the address we put in. So if I switch to my email program, and I check my email, hopefully the email will come in. Let's see if I make sure I put the right email in there, srunkle@tenanttech.com. Well, for some reason that email is not coming in. So oh, there it is, rental application link. It usually comes in like 1 second. So this is basically the email that's going to go to the applicant. So it's got some boilerplate language, and then it has the language that I put in there, personally asking them to fill it out today. And then this is the link they're going to click, and it's going to have myrentalapplication.com. It's a secure website, and it's going to have a little code that represents basically your company. Or if it's a multifamily property, it would have the name of the property. And then I can go through this process, and now I'm acting as the applicant. So the first thing I'm going to see is the criteria for residency, which I have to agree to before I even begin. And all this will be noted in the database. And then as the applicant, I'm going to fill out all my information. And one of the cool things about this system is that it's, as I'm going through and filling out these required fields, the ones with the asterisk, it is actually creating an account for me behind the scenes, and it's going to send me an email. So I don't have to actually create my own account, create a username and password and do those things, because it's doing that all for me. So I'm just going to fill out the required fields here with fake information. And this is just sort of boilerplate information, their current residence information. Do they rent or own? I'm going to just say they own. And now I'm going to just go down past the previous, down to their employment history, and because that's where we have the other required field, which is their gross pay. We don't want to have too many required fields, because then we are forcing people to try to fill out information that they might not have. If there's something missing that you think you need when you get the information, you can send this right back to them and ask them to fill out missing information. So I'm just going to scroll to the bottom. I'm going to leave everything else blank in the interest of saving time. And now I'm going to continue on, and this is going to show a bunch of legal language talking about pulling credit and things like that. Here's my screening company information. And then I get down to the signature, and I can put in today's date and click next, basically saying I agree to everything. And this is my final submission. And now all of that information was sent back to the Tenant Tech program. And here I have my new applicant, John Smith, that I just submitted. So, and as the owner manager, I'm going to get an email telling me I have a new applicant. It's also going to show up on the dashboard as a little notification. And once that comes in, I can view the full applicant info. I can't edit anything because we don't want people changing data that someone else has submitted, but I can read everything if I want. I want to just make sure that they filled out things that I know we need, like their employment history. And if they didn't, I can click return to applicant, and I can just send them a quick email. It's going to allow them to log back in, resubmit the application. At this point, I can print the PDF. I can delete the applicant. I can send it to screening. I can change the status and move them in. So at this point, we're kind of back where we were at the beginning, where I did the whole send to screening process and did the screening and then did the whole move in. So you can see how easy it is to just send out applications and get them back in. You don't have to deal with paper at all. The other cool thing is you can give that link, the one that came into the email right here. You can take this link and put it on your website, except for this code at the end, which identifies that individual person. And then you can have this and say apply now, and it will take them right to that online rental application. So people can fill that out right from your website. So we've looked at residents, we looked at forms and docs. I'm going to jump over to the reports section to show you the kind of reports that we can do in the system. So down the left side, we have all the different categories of reports, and they're all shown here because I'm in the all reports section. If there's prospects, we can look at all the different prospect information. We can do rent rolls. We can look at animals, vehicles. We can do a residence report. We can do minors. We can show all the renter's insurance. I'm just going to show you a quick rent roll report because this is a very common one, and to show you how flexible the system is. So here on the left side under available fields, we're going to see all the different information that we can put on a report if we want to. And then on the right side, we're going to show all the information that is on our report. And then down below, we have the actual report. And the fields on the report are going to be in the same order that they're listed here. So if I want the head of household to be more prominent and be on the left side, sort of maybe wrong here in the report, I can just click that and drag it right up there. And it's going to reorder that. And here we are, head of household is the third column. I can also sort by column. I can show only occupied units. I can show only vacant units. I can do a lot of different things. And if I want to remove something, so let's say I don't care about the square feet right now. I don't care about the number of bathrooms. I'm just going to click the minus sign. Those are in real time removed from my report. They're put back to the available fields. But let's say I do care about the total number of occupants in this particular unit. So I'm adding that to the report in real time. So at this point, I can save this, I can print it, I can email it, I can export it to Excel. There's a lot of different things I can do. So that's a rent roll report. They all function similarly. So a resident report is just going to have more information on specific residents, like their birthdays. We can do birthday reports, things like that. We have property and unit reports. We can view our unit inventory, lease renewals, lease expirations, move-ins, vacancies, lists of owners and ownership. If we're using the maintenance module, we can view work orders and maintenance tasks and things like that. I didn't really show you much about the owners, but we can set it up so that we have all of our owners in the system, and then the individual owners can be assigned to individual units. So you can have owner information tracked in the system for each of your different houses, plexes, units, or multifamily properties. Up here, we can view our property settings. We can change whatever we need to in the system. We can put in new owners like I was just talking about. We can set our basic information about our company and the email, things like that. Under rental agreement, we can put in a variety of presets and defaults. We can set how our rounding is going to happen, our prorates, our lease term calculation. Those utilities that you saw come up, they were all set to NA. We could change those, and then a new lease, they would be filled out correctly. We can put in information on pets, lead-based paint, application screening. This is where we select our screening company and put in information that goes to that online rental application. And other things, we can set reminders. This is a real handy system if you're managing a fair number of units. We can set a new reminder. Let's say that you want to know when there's going to be lease expiration and you want to know 30 days before expiration, and you're going to send them a letter. So this is just a reminder to yourself. And we're going to tell who's going to get that reminder. I'm going to make it be Andrew and myself. So now I've set a lease expiration reminder. So every day the system's going to check whether there is someone in our system that fits that for you. And if so, it's going to send you an automatic email and a notification in the system. So you get that reminder. And you can add as many of these as you want. If you want to do another lease expiration at a different time, you can do that. You can also do move-in follow-up. So you want to follow up a week, a month, day after move-in, you can do that. You can do resident birthdays. So you get a reminder day before their birthday, on their birthday. And like I mentioned before, minors turning 18. So that's a real handy feature. And very quickly, I'll show you the maintenance. This is an add-on module. Here under the maintenance module, we can add all of our vendors. We can put in different information for them. We can put in work orders. So let's see, I'll go to all units. And I've already got a work order in here for this particular unit for plumbing. I'm going to go ahead and edit that. And I'll go to the tasks, and we can see that we have a task here under plumbing. And there wasn't much filled out, but typically under the description, you might say fix the toilet or whatever. You can assign this task to a vendor, and you can fiddle with the status. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do. And under the overview, it's going to show you information where you can select which of your houses or units it is. You can put in a general description. So this work order can contain multiple tasks that are not related to each other. You can put all of your different tasks for that particular house on one work order if you want, or you can break them out. So you could have plumbing as well as electrical on one work order or on different work orders. And you can put in information about pets and entry requirements and things like that, time to contact. That'll all be on the work order. And then when we go to print the work order, the system generates just a nice looking printable work order here that you can print out and give to your vendor. You can also email the work order. You can print it. You can generate a maintenance request and edit and delete and do different things like that. So then we can put in our vendors, staff, and history, all different things relating to work orders. So another thing we can do in the system is just a real quick search, and it will bring up anybody who matches what we type. It's searching automatically. We can also search for vehicles, unit numbers, things like that. And that is the general system in a nutshell. And Andrew, do you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to ask about the system? And while Andrew's coming on here, I'm going to just show you under, let's see, under my account.
I have a couple.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, you just handled the create work order.
Right.
That's great. Where's the data stored?
All the data is stored on servers at different data centers. Our main data center is in San Jose, California, at one of the larger hosting companies. So it's basically all stored in the cloud. It's all done through the web browser, and different things are stored in different places. So the documents are all stored on cloud servers securely behind firewalls, and all the data is stored in a remote database. It's backed up and secured.
Okay. What about importing, like my current rent roll or my current unit list or anything like that?
Yes, that's a good question. That's something that we do for almost all of our new clients, and it's part of our setup process. There's no additional cost for that. What you can do is just send us a rent roll, and we pop it into the system. We have a whole sort of import process that we do behind the scenes, where we match up the fields that you give us with the fields that we have, so we can import all of the list of units, unit addresses, buildings that I showed you, resident names, lease dates, lease amounts, things like that. And it saves a huge amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably critical to especially when you get above 10 or 20 units.
Right.
You start thinking, it's all this manual entry would be, kind of tough.
And we can take any type of CSV file, Excel file, things like that. We can also send a sample of a good way to set it up, or we can just take whatever they have.
Okay. Did you show an example of receiving rent?
No, I did not. The accounting module is something we've been working on for a while. We're hoping it's going to be done later this year. And I didn't show a sample of that. I don't really have it active on this particular system I'm showing. It's available on our development site, but that's something I'm not really ready to show at this moment. I can just tell you quickly the way it would work is basically once that accounting is turned on, you'd have a separate tab up here between forms and docs and maintenance that would say accounting. And you can go in there and view general ledger and do a variety of things. And then down over here, kind of in this space down below, you would be able to add recurring charges, which generally would be rent, but could be other things as well. So you could say there's rent occurring on the first of every month for $600. And then at the first of every month, the system's going to put in an automatic charge for the rent. And then when they pay, you click a button that says receive rent. You just put in the check number, any other information that you want, and boom, it records that into the system. And you can go and put those all together into a deposit, note that you made the deposit. It will track all the delinquencies, and it will show you when you go to the dashboard, when the accounting is turned on, there's actually a couple additional dashboard widgets that would appear down here showing you all the rents that were due and whether there's any delinquencies and things like that.
So there's no flagging of a tenant to show their current or their delinquent or anything like that?
Well, it knows that automatically. They're, as soon as the rent is charged, then they're basically someone who they're not really delinquent. But if it's the second day of the month, then they really are delinquent. So it's basically just showing you all the outstanding charges that are not paid in the system. So it's very easy. You can actually, when you go to the report section with the accounting turned on, you'd be able to see um, the
Okay, that's with accounting turned on.
right. In this system right now, since it doesn't track that in the same way, it doesn't. Yeah, it basically doesn't do any of those accounting features right now in the system.
Okay, well that's something actually I'm familiar with, that a lot of property managers stay focused on property management, and then the accountants stay focused on accounting.
Right.
And they're two separate functions within many of the organizations.
And while you're talking, I'm going to see if I can pull up a little bit of the accounting on one of our development sites. So this is a place where we call it a sandbox. It's where one of our developers can work, excuse me, without affecting the rest of the system. And I think accounting is turned on here. I'm just going to go and see. Let's see. Go to a different property here real quick. And yeah, so here we go. I've selected Kaiser Soze, and we can see his payment history and when things were charged and when things were paid. We can void out a charge, things like that. We can see what the recurring charges are. So we've got a lot of different charges in here for testing, different amounts, different recurrences, things like that. And when we want to receive payments, if he's got some outstanding payments, which he does, you can see he owes us $87,597. So this has been running charges every month and every week for a long time. So we can just put in the amount, the check number, and we can add a payment in immediately. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things. This is all going to be coming out later this year.
So in the meantime, if a person were using like QuickBooks and basically invoicing their residents that way, it's fairly easy to set up separate properties as classes within QuickBooks, and so that would just kind of be a separate function.
That's right, and we have a lot of users now. We have thousands of properties in the system, and since we don't have an accounting program, every single one of them is using some other program for accounting, whether it's QuickBooks or Yardi or anything in between. And they all do it no problem, because our system is very easy, it's very fast, and it handles documents, and they can keep doing their accounting in their separate system. And generally, there's not a lot of complaints. People kind of want it all to work together, and we do interfaces and things like that. But once we have our accounting, it'll just make it that much easier.
Okay, excellent. I noticed that you showed that the user could delete an applicant.
Right.
Does that make sense to delete their information?
Well, we give our users the power to do things like add and delete things. So that's basically up to the user. So if we click delete applicant, it's going to say, are you sure you want to remove this applicant? And actually, it's a good question, because the way we've set up the system is on the back end, when something is quote unquote deleted, it's really not deleted from our system. It's just marked as deleted. It's kind of like on your hard drive when you delete a file. That file is actually still there. It just sort of loses track of where it is, and then over time it will write over that information. In our system, when you delete an applicant, for example, or really delete anything like a prospect or a unit, the information is actually still in there. It's just marked as deleted. So in a worst case scenario, they could call us up and say, oh, I didn't mean to delete that applicant. I need to put them back. And we can actually go into the database and mess around with the data and put that person back. But you never know. I mean, it's always possible that you might get two applicants for the same house. on the same day, and you take the first one, and the second one you're not going to do anything with. And if you can't delete them, they would just be sitting there forever in the system. So really, it's a handy feature in those cases.
Oh, sure. And you'll have a lot of people that may abandon an application.
Right.
Just sitting out there as superfluous data that should be deleted. But once it's completed, though, and they've actually been screened, does it still allow the deleting?
Yeah, you can delete an applicant to any point. I mean, basically, it's just part of our philosophy is not to restrict what people can do very much. There's a lot of different ways to do everything in the system. So, for example, if we said, oh, an applicant can never be deleted, or an approved applicant can never be deleted, then I guarantee you we'd get phone calls saying, hey, I can't delete this applicant. You know, it's kind of like you'd have to make a decision about how you're going to set up the system. And generally, we put the power into the hands of our users. It just makes things easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think are the ideal number of units, or I mean, what are the ranges for the type of users for this type of system?
That's a good question.
Mom and pop up to how many hundreds or thousands of units?
We have clients with 10,000 units in the system, with hundreds of multifamily properties, and we have clients with one single house. We have a minimum of 5 in the system when you sign up, but that doesn't mean you have to have 5. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just that we sell them in a minimum sort of block of 5. And so it works for everybody. We have a lot of companies or individual rental homeowners with 5 units, 10 units, 20, 30, 100, 1,000. We've got them up to, like I said, 5, 10,000. So the system is designed with a lot of flexibility to really work for anybody. There's a lot of things you can do with the buildings. I showed you how we've got these different sort of portfolios. We can go to edit buildings, and we can add and remove buildings and do different things. There's a lot we can do with our units and our unit addresses. And like I said here, with the different custom addresses, whether the unit number is printed on forms, who their owner agent is, there's really a kind of like an infinite number of combinations to allow the exact usability that each person wants. And we can help people with that. They can just call us and get free technical support at any time during business hours, and we'll just help them set it up the way that they need it. Here's a good example. See how it says restore remove tenants? So you can actually, if they remove someone from a unit and they didn't mean to, we can go in and click that and pull back that data into the system for them.
Well, okay. Well, we set this up for an hour, and it's about 2 more minutes or something. Well, maybe not quite that long. Maybe not quite that short. But what we probably should do is take a few questions from the group, and then try to follow up with you, and then maybe schedule something later. Or we're looking for beta test sites. Talk to us about that. If we had a user that says, I'd like to convert to this, and maybe they had 25 units, say, how long would it take them to get up and running?
They can fill out our online registration form, and they can be up and running the same day. It's not processed instantaneously automatically. It comes into our system, and someone actually sets it up. It's because there's things we have to look at and decisions that we have to make, but it usually takes, just a few minutes or an hour or 2. It really just depends on our workload. And people are welcome to get in contact with us. They can go to www.tenanttech.com, where they can talk to you about how to get there. And they can get a free trial if they want. If they want to try it out for 30 days for free, they can use the full system with no restrictions during that time and get their forms and do everything just like any other user.
Okay, and then on the forms, we have a few forms in there that can come from our group, Iowa Landlord Association and Iowa REIA. And so they have something they can start with. We're working on adding a bed bug addendum. I'm expecting that'll be done probably by the end of this next month. And there's other forms that should be in here, but let's say somebody wants to customize one of these a little bit. Is that something they can do by user? Can they put their own logo on the form, for instance?
Right. Yeah. The question, actually, something I completely forgot to mention is all of the forms will be customized with the logo of the management company. Whatever logo they give us, really, will be put on the forms automatically. Every form that's generated, they're customized. If they want to give us their own custom forms, so let's say they have their own house rules or criteria for residency, or really anything they want to put into the system, they can give to us. We'll put that in as a custom form. There's also something I didn't show, which is custom letters. They can actually set up letters in the system, which are kind of like Word mail merge documents. And you can just put those in. You can basically kind of create your own documents in the system, putting in fields like unit number and resident names and dates of birth. And you can put in custom variables and do a bunch of different things. So I won't show that in detail, but there is a way for them to actually create their own documents. And they can also send us a PDF or Word file, and we'll put that in as well. So it's real flexible. In the back end, there's a huge amount of power and flexibility to the document system and how it manages things. We can pretty much do whatever they need.
Okay, well, excellent. We want to thank you for demonstrating this system, and we'll gather some specific questions that anybody has that was a burning question that they wanted to answer or ask and didn't get a chance to get it answered. And then we'll set up a follow-up meeting and see if we can get some people beginning to use this, because this is the premier system that we've selected to work with, and so we're excited to move the ball further down the road.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone coming and watching the demo.
All right. Well, you make it a great day.
All right. You too. Thanks.
Thank you.